Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mqondisi Macaba from Thembela Maths Club, a club that helps learners to understand mathematics. So today we are going to be looking at a very fundamental yet very important piece of understanding. We are going to be looking at signs. Now, what is the purpose of this piece of understanding? Ladies and gentlemen, let's say you've got something like this. You've got minus 3 plus 1. Let's say you are supposed to evaluate this. Guys, evaluation is just a fancy English word which means calculate. When they say evaluate, you must know what they simply mean is calculate. All right, let's pass them. So if you have a problem like this and then you are supposed to evaluate, how are you going to evaluate? I know some of you will say, this is so easy, you can just put it in a calculator and then you will then get what you get and then that's it. Yes, that will be fine, but remember, this is just one of the parts of mathematics that you can do. You can put this on a calculator, but what if you have minus, say, minus 3a plus a? You no longer have numbers only. You also have variables. So now, how are you going to be able to solve this? Are you going to put this in a calculator? No, you're not going to put in a calculator. So you must be able to do these things without using a calculator, so that when you deal with X and Y's and A's and B's, you will know exactly what you do. So the purpose of today's session is to help you start up with how to deal with signs, so that you can be able to know what is it that you are supposed to do when you are supposed to deal with problems that has to do with signs. Okay, let's continue now. When it comes to signs, ladies and gentlemen, personalities, there are two signs that we have. Two signs. Now, what are those signs? Those are, it's positive and what? And negative. Okay. Now, how do you see which sign belongs to a number? Now, before I even go there, I want to put it on record that each and every number has a sign associated with it. There is a sign associated with it. So, for example, here you had minus 3 plus 1. What is the sign of 3? The sign of 3 is minus. So, where do you get the sign? You get the sign at the left hand side, which is where? Which is here. So if you want to find out what is the sign of a number, just look at the left hand side of a number. Therefore, you will find what the sign of that number is. And ladies and gentlemen, it is very important to know what is the sign of a particular number that you are working with, so that you will know how it will interact with the whole thing. Okay, so here the sign is minus. The sign of 3 is minus. What about 1? Again, look at the left hand side of 1. What is on the left hand side of 1? You've got plus. So the sign of 1 is what? Is plus. Right. So this is how you identify sign. Okay, we say we've got two signs, and then we've got a negative sign and a positive sign. And then we said, how do we see the sign of a number? We see the sign of a number when you are looking at the left hand side of a number. Guys, this might look very simple, but it's very important, because most of the people they miss steps when they are doing their serious problems. But now, when you actually look at the steps that they missed, you only find out that the only problem was the sign, because they couldn't understand the sign. So this, guys, is very important. So we've got negative and a positive sign. Right. Now, how do you then add and subtract and then when you've got signs involved. Obviously, you always have signs involved. So let's talk about adding. Let me start with adding. Adding, and subtraction. Okay, now how do you add? Now let's go back to what we had. We had minus 3 plus 1. Okay, this is the first problem that we want to subtract. And then let's look at another one. Let's look at 1 minus 3 is equal to, okay, and then let's look at minus 1 minus 2, and then let's look at 1 plus 1, and then let's look at minus 1 plus 1, and then we'll end it here, and then close shops. Okay, right. Now when we are adding and we are subtracting, so what we have to do, if we have two numbers that we are supposed to evaluate, you must look at the signs, right? So you must look at the signs. So the sign of 3 is minus and the sign of 1 is plus. So what is happening here? The signs are the same. So let me just write it properly. So you've got signs, and then once your signs are the same, that means that you are doing what? You are adding. And then if the signs are not the same, then what do you do? You subtract. Just write it properly, because I can't see it even myself. You subtract if the signs are not the same. Subtract. If the signs are the same, you add. If the signs are not the same, you subtract. Now let's look at this one. What is the sign of? It's minus and then it's plus. It means the signs are not the same. So what do you do? You subtract. So if you say 3 minus 1, what do you get? You get 2. Now guys, when it's come to the signs, now I want you to, now we've got the number, the numerical value. Now we need to decide what is the sign of the answer. So guys, the sign of the answer, you just take a bigger number. You just take the sign of a bigger number. Okay, you take the sign of a bigger number. So the bigger number here is 3. What is the sign of the bigger number? Is minus. So that means that you have minus 2 here. All right, you can also just take this thing as it is and put it in a calculator just to see that what we are saying, we are not talking nonsense. All right, okay, now let's look at this one. What is the sign of 1? Guys, here there is no sign. So whenever there is no sign, you must know that there is an invisible sign, which is what? Which is positive. So there is positive here and this one is negative. Is it same or not the same? It is same. I'm talking nonsense. It is not the same. So if it's not the same, what do? I subtract. Okay, so 3 minus 1, what do we get? We get what? We get 2. We get 2. And then we take the sign of a bigger number. What is the bigger number? Is 3. What is the sign of 3? Is minus. So we put this minus here. You can also check it on the calculator. All right, let's go to the next one. Minus 1 minus 2. So here, are they the same or they are not the same? They are the same because the sign of this one is negative and the sign of this one is negative. So what does it mean? It means, what am I doing? I'm adding. Right, now 1 plus 2. What do we get? We get 3. Okay, now what is the sign of a bigger number? The sign of a bigger number is minus. So we just put minus here. Let's go back to this one. What is the sign of this one? It's plus. The sign of this one is plus. So they are the same. So what do? We are adding. So 1 plus 1 is 2, and then we end up getting 2. What is the sign? Plus is plus, so the sign is plus. Remember guys, if your sign is plus, if you want you can put it, but if you don't want, you can just exclude it. But just for purposes of what we are currently doing, let's put it is positive. It's positive. So that is why 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. You follow these rules. Right. Now, lastly, we've got minus 1 plus 1. This is minus 1, this is plus 1. Same or different? Same or not different? Or not the same? It is not the same. So what do? You subtract. So 1 minus 1, you get 0. Okay. Now, is our 0 negative or is our 0 positive? Now, guys, when it comes to 0, 0 can never be negative. 0 can not be positive. 0 is just 0. It is at the center between negative and positive. So 0 has no sign. Now let's summarize this whole thing so that we then close shops. So we said we've got 2 signs. We said the signs are negative and positive. And then we said when we are evaluating problems using signs, what we usually do is we look at whether the signs are the same or they are not the same. We said if the same signs are the same, so what do? The operation that we're going to do is adding. If the signs are not the same, the operation that we're going to do is subtracting. Okay, and then when it comes to a sign, we say we take the sign of a bigger number. This is how we got this answer here, and this answer here, and this answer here, and this answer here. This is how you add and subtract numbers. All right, and then this is basic operations, and then we are looking specifically at what? At signs. So ladies and gentlemen, now lastly, before we close everything here, what if you've got a very long problem, right? Let's say for example you've got 1 minus 2 plus 3 minus 4, and then yes, and then this is, let's say for argument's sake, plus 5. Okay, now how do you deal with something like this? You want the answer. Okay, so remember we said that if the signs are the same, we said when they are the same, what do? We add, right? And then when they are not, what do? We subtract. So to make our job easy here, let's put the signs that are the same this side, and then the signs that are not the same this side. Okay, this is positive. Okay, we can put positive like this. So it's gonna be positive 1, and then there is 3 plus 3, and then there is 5, which is plus 5. These 3 have the same sign. We are putting them together, and then this is, and then there is minus 2, and then there is minus 4. Okay, so guys, I want you to note that, so what we are simply doing here, we are putting the signs that, we are putting the numbers that have the same sign on one side, and then so that we can be able to use this, that when the signs are the same we add. Okay, so that when we do that, we'll end up with 2 numbers, and then we can then deal with 2 numbers in terms of the procedure that we know. Right, so all right, let's not put this equal, let's put it here so that things will be fine. Okay, so 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 5 is 9. So we end up having what? 9. And then we said when the signs are the same, what we do? We add. So 2 plus 2. So 2 plus 4 is what? Is 6. And then the sign here is minus. Okay. So now, instead of having this lot of numbers, you end up with only 2 numbers. Now you ask yourself the same question. Are the signs the same or they are not the same? The sign here is plus. The sign here is minus. So the signs are not the same. So if the signs are not the same, what do? We subtract. Okay, so 9 minus 6, we end up with what? We end up with 3. And then what about the sign? We take the sign of a bigger number. What is the bigger number here? Is 9. What is the sign of 9? Is plus. So we have plus here. We can put plus or we can just leave it like this because the default sign is plus. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how you add and you subtract. So what am I saying here? I'm simply saying that if you have a long if you have a lot of terms and then they have different signs and then they are mixed, just to make, remember guys, in mathematics we are simplifying things. We are trying to make things simpler. So if you have, so we're trying to make things simpler. So if you have a long thing, try to make it a little bit less hectic. So that is why in this case we put positive on the other side and the negative on the other side, so we make it less hectic, and then we end up with 2 numbers which we can deal with perfectly. So ladies and gentlemen, again, my name is Mqondisi Macaba from Thembela Maths. Thank you very much for tuning in, and then in the next video I will deal with multiplication and what? I will deal with multiplication and division. How to deal with signs in a context of multiplication and division. Sorry, this is how you deal with signs in a context of addition and subtraction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in, and have a lovely day further, and goodbye. And then guys, if there is any questions that you have with regards to what we just spoke about, you can then in the comment section ask your question, or if there is a comment that you would like to say regarding what we currently do, please do write that comment in the section, and we will try very, very hard to interact with you and be able to answer whatever concerns or questions that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, now for real this time, thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day, and goodbye.